To deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. Therefore, a person who gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor should not refuse to accept it. Kardama Muni was not meant for sense gratification, yet he aspired to marry and prayed to the Lord for a suitable wife. This was known to Swayambhuva Manu. He indirectly convinced Kardama Muni, "You desire a suitable wife like my daughter, and she is now present before you. You should not reject the fulfillment of your prayer. You should accept my daughter." Interesting verse. So it says, to deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. Okay, so this is saying that if you don't accept an offering of something that has come of itself, in other words, you didn't work for it, you didn't ask for it, it says that it is not commendable. In other words, it's not good to do this. Even if you are absolutely free from all attachment, and much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. So, the purport explains, in material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. Therefore, a person who gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor should not refuse to accept it. Kardama Muni was not meant for sense gratification, yet he aspired to marry and prayed to the Lord for a suitable wife. This was known to Swayambhuva Manu. He indirectly convinced Kardama Muni, "You desire a suitable wife like my daughter, and she's now present before you. You should not reject the fulfillment of your prayer. You should accept my daughter." Okay. Well, here we see there's a general principle, and then there is the practical fulfillment. So it says, the verse says, to deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable, even for one absolutely free from all attachment, much less one addicted to sensual pleasure. So when it says to deny an offering that has come of itself is not commendable. So in other words, it's not a good thing, and it's not it's not advised that you deny an offering that comes of itself. Even if you have no personal attachment, or if you're addicted to sensual pleasure. Okay, so let's read the purport again. In material life, everyone is desirous of sense gratification. Therefore, a person who gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor should not refuse to accept it. Kardama Muni was not meant for sense gratification, yet he aspired to marry and prayed to the Lord for a suitable life. Okay, so he's not meant for sense gratification. Oh, wait a minute. First of all, it begins by a general statement. The verse says, to deny an offering that comes of itself is not commendable. In other words, something comes of itself. We should not deny it, even if you are completely free from attachment. Or if you are addicted to sense pleasure, so you should not deny it. Uh, so if a person who is desirous of sense gratification and who gets an object of sense gratification without endeavor should not refuse to accept it. Gautama Muni was not meant for sense gratification, yet he aspired to marry and prayed to the Lord for a suitable wife. This was known to Swayambhuva Manu. He indirectly convinced Gautama Muni, you desire a suitable wife like my daughter, and she's now present before you. You should not reject the fulfillment of your prayer. You should accept my daughter. Well, to understand what's being said here and how it's being said, we have to go to the next verse. That's text number 13, Canto 3, chapter 22, text number 13. One who rejects an offering that comes of its own accord, but later begs a boon from a miser, thus loses his widespread reputation, and his pride is humbled by the neglectful behavior of others. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The general procedure of Vedic marriage is that a father offers his daughter to a suitable boy. That is a very respectable marriage. A boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Swayambhuva Manu wanted to convince Kardama Muni, since he knew that the sage wanted to marry a suitable girl. I am offering just such a suitable wife. Do not reject the offer, or else, because you are in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humbled. Another feature of this incident is that Swayambhuva Manu was the emperor, but he went to offer his qualified daughter to a poor Brahmana. Kardama Muni had no worldly possessions. He was a hermit living in the forest, but he was advanced in culture. Therefore, in offering one's daughter to a person, the culture and quality are counted as prominent, not wealth or any other material consideration. Okay. Well, that this is Vedic culture. It's not necessarily Asura culture. So, therefore, uh, here's a hermit, Kardama Muni, living in the forest, but he was advanced in culture. Okay, well, what culture we're talking about? Krishna consciousness. He was in control of his senses and his mind. Okay, so uh, so the father of a daughter, Swayambhuva Manu, he wants to convince Kardama Muni to accept his daughter in marriage because he knew that Kardama Muni wanted to get married. So he goes to see him. Uh, he says, I'm offering just a suitable wife. Do not reject the offer, or else, because you are in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humbled. All right, so he's saying, look, you should accept my daughter. She is a suitable person for a person like yourself. And it says that the general procedure of Vedic marriage is that the father offers his daughter to a suitable boy. That is a very respectable marriage. A boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. Well, that's what usually happens nowadays. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Okay. So, um, well, let's say the father doesn't offer the daughter for marriage. Uh, that's a big mistake. The father should find a suitable boy and offer his daughter, and that is a respectable marriage. But the boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. That's what's going on today. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. So, uh, a boy must have such good qualification that the father goes to the boy and asks him to please uh, take my daughter in marriage. Um, but usually today it's different that the boy goes to a girl's father and asks for the hand of his daughter in marriage. And it says that is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Well, so then what happens here? Well, the father should see the boy with such good qualifications, and he should ask the boy to marry his daughter. So it says here, Swayambhuva Manu wanted to convince Kardama Muni since he knew that the sage wanted to marry a suitable girl. I'm offering just such a suitable wife. Do not reject the offer, or else, because you're in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else. You may not behave, who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humbled. Okay, so basically it's saying that uh, says the general procedure of Vedic marriage is that a father offers his daughter to a suitable boy. That is a very respectable marriage. A boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage, but that's what's going on today, right? So he shouldn't do that. Uh, the father should offer his daughter to a suitable boy. Well, why would the father do that? It's probably because the daughter asks him to do it. Let's see what it says. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Swayambhu Manu wanted to convince Kardama Muni since he knew that the sage wanted to marry a suitable girl. I am offering just such a suitable wife. Do not reject the offer, or else, because you are in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humbled. Yeah, you'll make a big mistake. Another feature of this incident is that Swayambhuva Manu was the emperor, but he went to offer his qualified daughter to a poor brahmana. Kardama Muni had no worldly possessions. He was a hermit living in the forest, but he was advanced in culture. Therefore, in offering one's daughter to a person, the culture and quality are counted as prominent, not wealth or any other material consideration. Well, this is not what's happening today. People, anyway, I don't know if you've ever read these uh, 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 newspaper,
Tabloids,
no, not the tabloids.
matrimony.
Yeah, matrimonial pages where, there's a description of the girl either by the girl or by the father, of what qualification the boy has to have. Uh, so it's usually the girl herself, and she says, I have a PhD in such and such a subject, and I'm looking for a Indian boy who also has a PhD in my field, and is situated nicely, etc. Well, the girl she just limited her her choice, her ability to find a suitable boy because he has to have a PhD like her, and has to have you know the same type of culture that she has. So that's very exclusive. Now maybe she will find someone like that, and maybe she won't find someone like that because she has eliminated a huge field of possibilities by being so exclusive. So let's look at what's being said here. Uh, the general procedure of Vedic marriage is that a father offers his daughter to a suitable boy. That is a very respectable marriage. A boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Well, this is what's happening today. And why is that? Because the father and the mother, they let the daughter have free, let's say, socializing with boys. That is a mistake. Young girls should not have the ability to freely socialize with boys. It's not a good thing to do. So someone might say, "Oh, what's wrong with that?" I don't think there's anything wrong with my, 12-year-old daughter dating someone. No, that's not the Vedic way. So, but that's what's happening today a lot. Okay, so it says here the general procedure of Vedic marriage is that a father offers his daughter to a suitable boy. That is a very respectable marriage. A boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Yeah. Uh, and, and we see that one would humble their respectable position. Yeah, you don't go around begging someone, let me marry your daughter. That's not the proper way things should happen because you'll be humbling your respectable position. In other words, you should be such a fine person, such a qualified person that the father will seek you out and offer his daughter to you. Okay. Uh, Swayambhuva wanted to convince Kardamamuni since he knew that the sage wanted to marry a suitable daughter. I am offering just such a suitable wife, do not reject the offer, or else, because you are in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humble. Well, number one, Swayambhuva Manu himself is a very respectable person, a very high class person, and a good devotee. And so his daughter has been trained also to be a very good person. So therefore, he's looking for a suitable person to marry his daughter. Okay, that makes sense. It's not that the daughter is attracted to someone and they get married, uh, because that would be the wrong way to go about getting married. So to get married properly, number one, you have to have a father who is very wise and knows the Vedic etiquette. And the daughter should be uh, uh, like humble and submissive and has all good qualities, and she should trust the decision of her father. Okay. The Swayambhuva Manu wanted to convince Kardama Muni, since he knew that the sage wanted to marry a suitable girl. I am offering just a suitable wife. Do not reject the offer, or else, because you are in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humbled. In other words, he will make a mistake. Okay. Another feature of this incident is that Swayambhuva Manu was the emperor, but he went to offer his qualified daughter to a poor Brahmana. Kardama Muni had no worldly possession. He was a hermit living in the forest, but he was advanced in culture. Therefore, in offering one's daughter to a person, the culture and quality are counted as prominent, not wealth or any other material consideration. Very profound statement, which is not followed today in general. Um, why would anyone offer his daughter to someone who has no worldly possessions? You know, they would be very hesitant to do that. Well, but you would have to uh, look at the culture of the person. So Kardama Muni, who had no worldly possessions, but he was uh, living in the forest, but was advanced in Krishna consciousness. So uh, that's why it says, therefore, in offering one's daughter to a person, the culture and quality are counted as prominent, not wealth or any other material consideration. Well, that's not happening today. Or let's say it's not what's normally happening. Okay, so text number 14. Swayambhuva Manu continued, O wise man, he's speaking to Kardama Muni, I heard that you were prepared to marry. Please accept her hand, which is being offered to you by me, since you have not taken a vow of perpetual celibacy. Okay, so Swayambhuva Manu knows that Kardama Muni wants to get married. But Kardama Muni doesn't have any worldly possessions. He was a hermit living in the forest. But he was a highly advanced person in the culture of Krishna consciousness. Let's see what the purport says. The principle of brahmacharya is celibacy. There are two kinds of brahmacharis. One is called Naistika Brahmachari, which means one who takes a vow of celibacy for his whole life, whereas the other, the Upakurvana Brahmachari, is a brahmachari who takes a vow of celibacy up to a certain age. For example, he may take the vow to remain celibate up to 25 years of age. Then, with the permission of his spiritual master, he enters married life. Brahmacharya is student life, the beginning of life in spiritual orders. And the principle of brahmacharya is celibacy. Only a householder can indulge in sense gratification or sex life, not a brahmachari. Swayambhuva requested Kardama Muni to accept his daughter, since Kardama had not taken the vow of Naistika Brahmacharya. He was willing to marry, and a suitable daughter of a high royal family was presented. Second, okay. Well, obviously, this requires, let's say, a very, let's say, serious understanding of a boy's qualification and also the girl's qualification for marriage. It should not be what's called a love marriage. When a boy sees an attractive girl or the attractive girl sees an attractive boy and they decide to get married. This is completely different than that. So, a boy who is a brahmachari and he has a vow of celibacy, but up to a certain age. Well, okay, so he has a desire to get married, but he's not doesn't put an ad in the newspaper, looking for such and such a woman, etc. He's uh, he's following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so he may take a vow to remain celibate up to 25 years of age. Then, with the permission of his spiritual master, he enters married life. So there's a spiritual master involved in this. It's not that the boy is searching a wife by himself. And it says that he may take a vow to remain celibate up to 25 years of age. Well, by the time a very decent boy becomes 25, he should already have the means to support a wife. That means that, he's done all his studies and now he's able to have a job in which he can support his wife and eventually children. So that takes training and education. And he also should have a spiritual master who is a bona fide spiritual master. So he may take the vow to remain celibate up to 25 years of age. Then, with the permission of his spiritual master, he enters married life. Brahmacharya is student life, the beginning of life in the spiritual orders. And the principle of brahmacharya is celibacy. Only a householder can indulge in sense gratification or sex life, not a brahmachari. So Swayambhuva Manu requested Kardama Muni to accept his daughter, since Kardama had not taken the vow of Naistika Brahmacharya. He was willing to marry, and a suitable daughter of a high royal family was presented. Okay. But Kardama Muni himself is not rich. He's actually very poor, but he's rich in culture. So he's desiring to get married. Uh, and and he has his vow of celibacy up to the age of 25 years. Okay. And he also has a spiritual master, and that means he's been initiated and he's following the rules and regulations of spiritual life. Uh, so that means that he has two choices. Either he will remain a brahmachari the rest of his life or that he'll get married. Either way is okay. There's no let's say fault in wanting to get married, but you should be a devotee who's actually following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness under the tutelage of a bona fide spiritual master. And you have to ask permission of the spiritual master uh, before you're able to have a wife. So it says brahmacharya is student life, the beginning of life in the spiritual orders, and the principle of brahmacharya is celibacy. Okay, so if this is taught to children, both the daughter and both the girl and the boy, that they should remain celibate uh, until they get married. Now, the Christians have the same thing. You know, uh, a girl takes a vow that she'll remain celibate until she gets married. That's actually um, the right thing to do. And it's not only in Krishna consciousness, it's also in other religions. And the boy also makes a vow to be celibate until he gets married. However, most people nowadays, they don't do that. And they begin to have, illicit sex in their teens. And it just leads to a lot of confusion in material life. That's why Prabhupada says here that the principle of brahmacharya is celibacy. There are two kinds of brahmacharis. One is called Naistika brahmachari, which means one who takes a vow of celibacy for his whole life, whereas the other, the Upakurvana brahmachari, is a brahmachari who takes a vow of celibacy up to a certain age. For example, he may take the vow to remain celibate up to 25 years of age. Then, with the permission of his spiritual master, he enters married life. Now, that is ideal. That's a very, very good thing to do. And it should be taught to kids, to girls and boys. And then it says brahmacharya is student life, the beginning of life in the spiritual orders. And the principle of brahmacharya is celibacy, no sex. Only a householder can indulge in sense gratification or sex life, not a brahmachari. But even the householder, he only engages in sex to procreate children, not for so-called pleasure. Only a householder can indulge in sense gratification or sex life, not a brahmachari. Okay, but that's still called sex life of the householder is regulated also. It's not unregulated. Uh, Otherwise, one is not really a bona fide grihasta. I mean, not a bona fide, let's say, not a respectable person for marriage. Swayambhuva Manu requested Kardama Muni to accept his daughter since Kardama had not taken the vow of Naistika Brahmacharya. He was willing to marry, and a suitable daughter of a high royal family was presented. Okay, well, uh, that's the desire of Kardama Muni, and therefore uh, uh, the father of the daughter must seek out a boy who has impeccable, let's say, a culture of Krishna consciousness. And the boy should be vetted before the father is willing to let his daughter get married. There's no question of a love marriage, love marriage, boy and girl, they see each other and all of a sudden they want to get married. So here it says the great sage um, replied, in other words, he's speaking to his father, Swayambhuva. And he says, the great sage replied, certainly I have a desire to marry, this is text 15, and your daughter has not yet married or given her word to anyone. Therefore, our marriage, according to Vedic system, can take place. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There were many considerations by Kardama Muni before accepting the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Most important is that Devahuti had first of all fixed her mind on marrying him. She did not choose to have any other man as her husband. That is a great consideration because female psychology dictates that when a woman offers her heart to a man for the first time, it is very difficult for her to take it back. Also, she had not married before. She was a virgin girl. All these considerations convinced Kardama Muni to accept her. Therefore, he said, yes, I shall accept your daughter under religious regulations of marriage. There are different kinds of marriages, of which the first class marriage is held by inviting a suitable bridegroom for the daughter and giving her in charity, well dressed and well decorated with ornaments, along with a dowry, according to the means of the father. Whoa, that's a big statement. According to the means of the father. Not, forcing the father, but according to his means. There are other kinds of marriage, such as Gandharva marriage and marriage by love, which are also accepted as marriage. Even if one is forcibly kidnapped and later on accepted as a wife, that is also accepted. But Kardama Muni accepted the first class way of marriage because the father was willing and the daughter was qualified. She had never offered her heart to anyone else. All these considerations made Kardama Muni agree to accept the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Okay, so that's why it says, there were many considerations by Kardama Muni before accepting the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Okay, so that's basically the proper way for marriage, that the daughter must, and the father must help the daughter understand what are the right qualifications of a boy, and then to see if there is a boy with those qualifications. Okay, so that's why it says there were many considerations by Kardamamuni before accepting the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Okay. Most important is that Devahuti had first of all fixed her mind on marrying him. She did not choose to have any other man as her husband. That is a great consideration because female psychology dictates that when a woman offers her heart to a man for the first time, it is very difficult for her to take it back. Okay, so in other words, if the daughter is being properly protected and not having free socialization, of course, that's very difficult because nowadays, uh, young girls, they graduate high school, then they go to college. Even the high school and the middle school and the kindergarten, it's all uh, 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 boys and girls mixing together, right? And uh, and then in college, that mixing continues, and then after college is over, the mixing continues. So it's very hard to find a girl or a boy that are celibate before marriage nowadays. And that is not considered usually as a qualification. First of all, you'd have to ask the boy or the girl, "Are you celibate?" You know, uh, you've never had sex before. I don't. That's usually not asked anymore or used as a qualification, and but that's not the case here. Uh, it says there are many considerations. There were many considerations by Kardama Muni before accepting the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Okay, all these considerations. What? So it says most important is that Devahuti had first of all fixed her mind on marrying him. Point one. She did not choose to have any other man as her husband. That is a great consideration because female psychology dictates that when a woman offers her heart to a man for the first time, it is very difficult for her to take it back. Also, she had not married before. She was a virgin girl. All these considerations convinced Kardamamuni to accept her. Yeah, so let's say a girl has, uh, you know, been married before, or a girl, uh, as a child uh, with somebody else, but she's not married to him, and now she's looking for a husband. So you see, uh, all these things have to be taken into consideration before the boy could get married, and the girl had a right also to look at the qualifications of the boy. Was he already married, or did he engage in illicit activities? Uh, so and there is also the question of uh, female psychology. What is that? That the first person or the first boy uh, that a woman offers her heart to, in other words, the first time a woman has sex with a man, it is very difficult for her to take it back. In other words, it's very difficult for her to forget that man. So it's definitely uh, a qualification that the girl be celebrate before she's married, because if she has sex with someone else, it's difficult for her to take her mind off of that first time man. So here it says it says most important is that Devahuti had first of all fixed her mind on marrying him, Kardamamuni. She did not choose to have any other man as her husband. That is a great consideration because female psychology dictates that when a woman offers her heart to a man for the first time, it is very difficult for her to take it back. In other words, it's very hard for her to ever get married to someone else. Also, she had not married before. She was a virgin girl. All these considerations convinced Kardamamuni to accept her. Therefore, he said, yes, I shall accept your daughter under religious regulations of marriage. There are different kinds of marriages, of which the first class marriage is held by inviting a suitable bridegroom for the daughter and giving her in charity, well dressed and well decorated with ornaments, along with a dowry, according to the means of the father. There are other kinds of marriage also, such as Gandharva marriage and marriage by love, which are also accepted as marriage. Even if one is forcibly kidnapped and later on accepted as a wife, that is also accepted. But Kardama Muni accepted the first class way of marriage because the father was willing and the daughter was qualified. She had never offered her heart to anyone else. All these considerations made Kardama Muni agree to accept the daughter of Swayambhu Vamana. All right, so that means that the daughter has never had sex before. And she's a virgin. This is very important. Um, well, in the in modern day, that is not always considered. But here we see that traditionally, uh, it's important that the girl has never been married before or that she was a virgin girl. And that says all these considerations convince Kardama Muni to accept her. Well, that is a very, let's say, uh, rigorous vetting of the girl and the boy. It's not just, oh, I met this guy and he has, uh, you know, he dresses nicely, he has a nice car, I want to marry him. But that's what usually happens nowadays. But that was not the process previously. Okay, so let's go on to text 16. Let your daughter's desire for marriage, which is recognized in the Vedic scriptures, be fulfilled. Who would not accept her hand? She is so beautiful that by her bodily luster alone, she excels the beauty of her ornaments. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Kardama Muni wanted to marry Devahuti in the recognized manner of marriage prescribed in the scriptures. As stated in the Vedic scriptures, the first class process is to call the bridegroom to the home of the bride and hand her to him in charity with a dowry of necessary ornaments, gold, furniture, and other household paraphernalia. This form of marriage is prevalent among higher class Hindus even today and is declared in the Shastras to confer great religious merit on the bride's father. To give a daughter in charity to a suitable son-in-law is considered to be one of the pious activities of a householder. There are 8 forms of marriage mentioned in the scripture. Manusmriti, but only one process of marriage, Brahma or Rajasika marriage, is now current. Other kinds of marriage, by love, by exchange of garlands, by kidnapping the bride, are not forbidden in this Kali age, are now forbidden in this Kali age. Formerly, the Kshatriyas would, at their pleasure, kidnap a princess from another royal house, and there would be a fight between the Kshatriya and the girl's family. Then, if the kidnapper was the winner, the girl would be offered to him for marriage. Even Krishna married Rukmini by that process, and some of his sons and grandsons also married by kidnap. Krishna's grandsons kidnapped Duryodhana's daughter, which caused a fight between the Kuru and Yadu families. Afterward, an adjustment was made by the elderly members of the Kuru family. Such marriages were current in bygone ages, but at the present moment they are impossible because the strict principles of Kshatriya life have practically been abolished. Since India has become dependent on foreign countries, the particular influences of our social orders have been lost. Now, according to the scriptures, everyone is a Sudra. The so-called Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas have forgotten their traditional activities, and in the absence of these activities, they are called Sudras. It is said in the scriptures, Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In the age of Kali, everyone will be like Sudras. The traditional social customs are not followed in this age, although formerly they were followed strictly. Well, that's the truth. Even in Krishna consciousness, at one point, marriages were somewhat, let's say, determined by the temple president, right? And many of those marriages were failures. So, but nowadays, when the girl becomes Krishna conscious, and then gets initiated. So now she basically has two fathers now, her birth father and her spiritual father. Right? So usually the advice of the spiritual father takes precedence. And therefore the girl has to have the permission of her guru in order to get married. So that's good. That is very good. But if uh, I would like to say that there were a lot of broken marriages in the early days of Krishna consciousness, because oftentimes the guru was not, let's say, qualified to give advice to the girl that wanted to get married, who wanted to get married, and they would just, whimsically say, okay, well, you marry so and so, and you marry so and so, like that. Yeah. And a lot of those marriages were broken. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them. So it's a very special, let's say, area. At one point, Prabhupada said, I'm not giving my permission for anyone to get married anymore. Yeah. And, if you want to get married, you get married legally. And then if you stay together a certain period of time, then I will give you marriage. So he got so disgusted because there were so many broken marriages at one time in Krishna consciousness. So it was like a joke. Okay, I think we're near the end. Uh, it says here, and it is said in the scriptures, Kalo Sutra Sambhava. In the age of Kali, everyone will be like Sudras. The traditional social customs are not followed in this age, although formally they were followed strictly. Well, that's true. That's what we're seeing today. So, However, if we follow Krishna consciousness uh, seriously, then it's possible to have marriages that are stable. And because the what happens in the material world is two people get married and they have some children, then there's some sex problems, and they get divorced. That happens a lot. That's why there are 50% of people who get married get divorced now. And if they get married a second time, it's like 63% that divorce. Like that. The more times you're married, the higher the number of divorces. Like, you have people like Elizabeth Taylor. I think she was married, I don't know, like, yes. Huh? Okay. Okay. So you see, uh, the, the whole program is broken now, and people are not happy. Like if you get married 7 times, it doesn't mean that you're happy because there could be an eighth time also and a ninth time. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're finished. Are there any questions? So the
Hare,
last sentence. Yes, go
Hare
ahead.
Krishna.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. So if the man is highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, but at the time he has no worldly qualities, is he suitable for marriage?
At the time, he has no what?
Worldly qualities?
What does that mean? Worldly qualities. He doesn't have any money. It doesn't have a job.
Yeah, like he doesn't have any worldly possessions, like not a job, money.
Right. Well, he's not in a position to get married. He has to be able to support his wife and in the future the children. But he can get those qualifications. Uh, those are the preliminary qualifications for getting married. He has to be able to support a wife and eventually the children. Otherwise, how can he get married?
Okay.
Right? Yeah. He can't say, well, I'll get married, but you you get a job and you bring in the money, and I'll stay at home. And when we have children, I'll raise the children. Well, there are situations like that where the wife is the goes out to work and the husband stays at home and takes care of the house. Uh, but it's not a healthy arrangement. Okay. So therefore, it says here that the traditional social customs are not followed in this age, although formally they were followed strictly. Well, that's a correct statement. However, in Krishna consciousness, um, well, and when two people get married, then just like in uh, any Christian uh, situation or Krishna conscious situation, there's the vow of marriage, and that vow is uh, that there is no separation. So I don't think that the emphasis on there will not be any separation is clearly understood by young people that are getting married. So uh, it's the culture of the boy and the culture of the girl has to be carefully analyzed. And that's why Prabhupada says here, the so-called Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas have forgotten their traditional activities, and in the absence of these activities, they are called Sudras. It is said in the scriptures, Kala Sudra Sambhava, in the age of Kali, everyone will be like Sudras. The traditional social customs are not followed in this age, although formerly they were followed strictly. Well, what did Prabhupada do? He tried to reestablish the the sanctity of marriage. And most of his disciples became married. And then a large number of those marriages failed. And at one time, Srila Prabhupada said, I'm not going to perform any more marriages because he became very upset that there were so many divorces going on and separations and marital problems. Well, and then he said, you first get married legally, and if you remain married after some years, then you can have a Krishna conscious marriage. Did you know that?
Yeah, I've shared before.
Yeah. So uh, this whole marriage issue is very complicated in Kali Yuga because uh, people, they can make they make decisions. Uh, First of all, they marry the wrong person. Then, the husband beats the wife, or the wife cheats on the husband, and then they get divorced, and so forth. So many strange things happen. So it's better uh, to follow what's called traditional social customs, even though the traditional social customs are not followed in this age, although formerly they were followed strictly. So we should bring back this strictly following traditional customs. And these traditional customs are explained here. Uh, Now, there are different types of marriages, but Prabhupada says there are 8 forms of marriage mentioned in the scriptures, in Manusamhita. But only one process of marriage, Brahma or Rajasika marriage, is now current. The other kinds of marriage, by love, by exchange of garlands, or by kidnapping the bride, are now forbidden in this Kali age. Formerly, judges would, at their pleasure, kidnap a princess from another royal house, and there would be a fight between the Kshatriya and the girl's family. Then, if the kidnapper was the winner, the girl would be offered to him for marriage. And usually, what would happen is there would be a marriage, there would be a fight to death, and then the Kshatriya would take some of the blood of the man, of the woman, I'm sorry, of the man that was defeated and killed, and he would uh, rub the blood on the forehead of the his wife or the lady that he was going to marry. It was like really horrible. So it says even Krishna married Rukmini by that process. That means by kidnapping her. Krishna's grandsons kidnapped Duryodhana's daughter, which caused a fight between the Kuru and Yadu families. Afterward, an adjustment was made by the elderly members of the Kuru family. Such marriages were current in bygone ages, but at the present moment, they are impossible because the strict principles of Kshatriya life have practically been abolished. Since India has become dependent on foreign countries, the particular influences of her social orders have been lost. Now, according to the scriptures, everyone is a Sudra. The so-called Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas have forgotten their traditional activities, and in the absence of these activities, they are called Sudras. It is said in the scriptures, Kalo Sudra Sambhava. In the age of Kali, everyone will be like Sudras. The traditional social customs are not followed in this age, although formerly they were followed strictly. Yeah, this marriage by kidnapping. Actually, my father kidnapped my mother. Yeah. That was a long time ago. But all this is difficult to let's say either follow or understand. I mean, the best thing is that you have a spiritual master who's bona fide, and both the girl and the boy have spiritual masters that are bona fide. And with their help, the boy and girl get married. And if they're good followers of their gurus, they will get advice throughout their life. And the number one point is to maintain one's vows. So you have the vow of initiation and you have the vow of marriage. Those are the two major vows that we make in Krishna consciousness. So both are necessary to have stability in the movement of Krishna consciousness. If you get married, you make a vow that you will never be separated in this lifetime. And if you accept initiation, you make the vow that you will always follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness throughout your life. So these are the two major vows in Krishna consciousness. There are other vows, like if you choose to become a sannyasi, you make a vow that you'll never get married and you will always remain celibate. So there are different vows, but most of vows are vows of marriage. And if they're followed strictly, then Krishna consciousness will prosper. And if they're not followed strictly, then Krishna consciousness becomes more or less a joke. People get married, then they get fights, and they get divorced, and then they get married again, and so forth. So it's very, very bad. Prabhupada got very disgusted with it, to the point where he said, I'm not going to officiate any more marriages. That's how bad it was. Okay. We'll stop right there. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Unless there's a question, but yes, if not, we'll end there and we'll meet again 11 hours from now.
Small clarification, Maharaj.
Yes, small clarification. Go ahead.
In the text 13, the second line.
Text 13, verse 13, you mean?
Yeah, verse 13.
So we're going backwards now, right?
13.
Okay, go ahead.
That you have covered today. It's a boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. This is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. What does this humbling mean here? I just am trying to. Is it going lower? On his respectable position?
Especially the boy, in this case, Maharaj said, like, Kardama Muni is a qualified brahmachari, ready for marriage. And if he goes and asks, and if the other person doesn't respect it, then it's a disrespect, right? You have to humble your position then. Like begging. So in this case, he's identified as a suitable boy, and the bride's father is the one that is bringing the bride to him. So he's maintaining his respectable position. The boy.
See, all this is based on people who actually follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. You know? They're strictly following, the boy is strictly following, the father of the girl is strictly following, and so forth, and the girl is strictly following. But if the girl doesn't listen to what her father says, and the boy is not following Krishna consciousness, then it's a joke. It's not serious.
Yeah.
So the father offers his daughter to a suitable boy. That's the general procedure of Vedic marriage. That is a very respectable marriage. A boy should not go to the girl's father and ask for the hand of his daughter in marriage. That is considered to be humbling one's respectable position. Swayambhuva Manu wanted to convince Kardama Muni, since he knew that the sage wanted to marry a suitable girl. I am offering such a suitable wife. Do not reject the offer, or else, because you are in need of a wife, you will have to ask for such a wife from someone else who may not behave with you so well. In that case, your position will be humbled. Yeah, I mean, you have to understand, like, 3/4 of the Srimad Bhagavatam is about relationships between men and women. So it's a big subject. There are a lot of considerations to take into consideration. And also it gets more complicated because this is Kali Yuga, where most people are not following the rules and regulations, traditional rules and regulations. So everything becomes mixed and confused in Kali Yuga. But in Krishna consciousness, just as well as, let's say, in other religions, they're trying to hold on to the traditional values as much as possible. But modern, let's say, culture, especially in schools and in movies and in books, it's all about violating the rules and regulations, and all about the stories about that are involved with uh, what you would call violation of the rules and regulations of a proper life. So it's very difficult in Kali Yuga to find a couple that are going to be, faithful to each other. Although there are, but the whole Vedic culture is based on following the rules and regulations from birth to death. You know, so most of the devotees in ISKCON were not part of ISKCON, were not born into ISKCON. Now there is a second generation now, so a lot of kids are born into Krishna consciousness. But in the first time, we were not born into Krishna consciousness, but we began to follow Krishna consciousness after, usually in our teenage life or an adult life. So to follow all these rules and regulations strictly is necessary in order to reestablish the Sanatana Dharma. And if we do that, then eventually, it's possible that most of the people in the world will become Krishna conscious. There has to be examples, successful examples, and that gives people confidence. So you cannot have, that's why Prabhupada stopped performing marriages at one point, because too many people were getting divorced. And that makes a joke, out of Krishna consciousness, makes it, people don't take it seriously. And then too many gurus were falling down also. So we have to follow the rules and regulations strictly so that people have confidence that, okay, these are very sincere, very, let's say, very dedicated to following the rules and regulations. Therefore, I have faith that they're good people, and I want to join their movement. I want to follow their, their rules and regulations. Okay, so I guess we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol. You see, most of what we're reading is about the relationship between men and women. I would say almost 3/4 of the Shastra is about the relationship between men and women because it's important. The whole stability of society is based on the keeping of vows, and there's the vows of initiation and there's vows of marriage. So if those vows are broken, then the whole basis of Krishna consciousness becomes a joke. Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop now unless somebody has a question. And if not, have a very blessed day. Chant all your rounds and be happy. And we'll meet again 11 hours from now. Hare Krishna. Hare